if you want more.
Why don't you just make 10 louder and make 10 be the top number and make that a little louder?
These go to 11.
All right, this is Mike, and I'm here today with Phil. How you doing?
Yeah, good, man. Good. How are you doing?
Not too bad. So the name of your band is Stellagen, right?
That's it. Yep, that's the one.
Okay, so I tried to look up what's the origins of the name.
Yeah. That's the first question a lot of people come up with, and it's so the origin of the band name was, well, for a start, when you're trying to come up with band names in this day and age, man, I swear I've come up with so many good ones. And as soon as you think, man, this is an awesome name, you type it in Google, shit, so someone's already taken it. But I ended up coming with the name with the name of Stella Genesis. I thought that was kind of a cool name, and I'll get to that in a second. What that kind of means to me.
Okay.
But basically, then we just came up with the idea of, instead of like Stella Genesis, and then just like a portmanteau of that. So just shortening that and combining the words Stella and Genesis into just the one new word, which hasn't been taken by anyone. So we thought that was kind of a cool idea. And yeah, the idea of Stella Genesis is just that idea of, I think it was when I was trying to come up with a band name, I was listening to that Professor Brian Cox guy, and he was just talking about the concept of the fact that, like, we all come from dying stars, like the sort of the carbon generated in dying stars is the stuff that we're made of, that sort of idea. And like, I thought that's a really cool idea for a band name. So that's all. Nothing super far out, but yeah, that's basically the origins.
Yeah, and so since you mentioned that we all come from dying stars, also the name of your album.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, that's another sort of link to that sort of idea, and that the last lyric of on the album is it's along the lines of quintessential ashes radiating from dying stars. So I kind of like the idea of having the last lyric of the album be the album title, and it sort of reflects that idea. And they've also got the second album that we're hoping to release later on this year, and the first lyric for that album will be the title of that album as well. So, sprinkling little things into the concept like that. It's kind of cool.
Okay, and so you guys formed in 2019, right?
That's correct. Yeah. So it's been it's sort of still as with any kind of band. I mean, we've taken a while to get the first album out, but we're really kind of focused on the songwriting and the production and that aspect of things. So that's why we've got the first album coming out it's already out earlier this year. And then the second album's ready to go. It's mixed and mastered, ready to come out later on in this year. So we're trying not to muck around too much in terms of getting albums out, because we've all been in bands before where you sort of the trajectory for us has seemed to be, you form a band, you gig for years and years in little bars, and then you just try and get bigger and bigger, and then try and scrounge up as much money for your first album. And as soon as you finally get your first album out, your band breaks up, and that's the end of it. So we're trying not to follow that path all the time.
Right. Well, I wondered too, since you formed in 2019, it would have been right before the pandemic. So have you guys been able to play any live shows, or has it just been all studio work?
Yeah, at the moment, it's sort of been off the agenda. We'd definitely like to, and obviously now things are opening up. It's more on the cards, but yeah, we haven't been able to play live. But that's definitely a goal, because we're all musicians that have been sort of gigging and playing together for many years, but just haven't had the opportunity yet. It's just been hard, as it has been for everyone around the world. So not being able to play a lot of shows is probably the least of our worries.
All right. Well, I think too, being Australia, as far as touring, I mean, you can play there in Australia, but outside that, I can only think of two, the more underground metal bands that I know of that have toured here. One of those would be the Berserker, who I thought was broke up, but I just found out they were back together again. Had no idea. And the other is I saw King Parrot a few years ago, and those are really the only two I can think of that have toured over here.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I didn't. I actually didn't realize that Berserker. I thought the Berserker was defunct as well, but I didn't realize they were back together. I remember I have fond memories of that band. So yeah. So well, I mean, this is a thing. It's sort of we'd love to tour wherever we can in the future. We gotta see what user eyes. But yeah. But it's good. It is good to see Australian bands getting out and touring the world. It's great.
Right. So for you guys musically, what are your influences?
Well, my influences. Well, we were sort of thinking about it the other day. I think Megadeth is probably a common influence, just amongst all of us. But then, in terms of my particular influences, I've really been a big fan of Halloween. I kind of grew up listening to a lot of the power metal stuff, like Halloween and Blind Guardian, sort of the progressive metal type stuff. So Dream Theater, Opeth, Sabotage. I'm wearing a Winter Sun shirt, so Winter
I saw
Sun.
that.
Yeah. Oh man, lots of different bands, I guess. But I think for our style, what I was sort of trying to do in the song, what we're trying to do with the songwriting is just like there's melodic death, there's power metal, there's sort of just straightforward more death metal, there's thrash, there's black metal, a bit of progressive type stuff, and kind of the idea, the concept for the band. We're not we just sort of trying to mix all that sort of stuff up and come up with cool songs that can kind of draw from whichever subgenre sort of seems necessary for the song. That's kind of how our influences end up expressing themselves in the music, I reckon.
Okay, well, one of the things that came to mind when I was listening to your stuff, vocally especially, there's kind of that raspy growl, which reminded me a little bit of Enslaved.
Okay, yeah, that's kind of interesting. I've sort of been an on and off fan of that band for a while. So yeah, interesting. Yeah, I mean the thing with my vocals is I guess with a lot of metal vocalists, I've never had any training or anything like that. Just learned how to do it as you go along.
I've been down that road myself, so yeah, I get it.
Freaking out your parents and then your neighbors when you're doing all these screams and stuff like that.
And so you guys also released your first video, because it's been about 2 months. It's been 3 months. Freedom.
That's correct.
Yeah, and so you guys did a CG video instead of showcasing yourselves. Wondered why go that route, and as opposed to the usual live stuff.
Yeah, good question. I'll say that we've got some videos of which coming up, which are going to showcase ourselves. So maybe there was just an element of taking away the focus from the band and just trying to come up with a story that using the CG animation, coming up with a story for the song that was quite compelling. So that I don't know. I guess there's different ways you can take it, but we thought it would be interesting to take the song and tell a bit of a complete story from start to finish, and sort of get some engagement there. And we were really happy with the result. We worked with a young an animator from Sydney here, and he did a fantastic job. So yeah, it's very, very cool, very rewarding.
Well, I was just curious, with the song title and some of the lyrics. So did you guys write this pre-pandemic? Because I know some of the stuff that went on over there during COVID.
Yeah, it's nothing to do with the with the pandemic or anything like that. The song was written pre-pandemic, and to be honest, it's got nothing to do with any of that sort of stuff. So that was actually one of my concerns, that it might be kind of interpreted that way, but fundamentally, I wrote that song years ago, it's all, to the extent there might be sort of any kind of parallels with things going on with the pandemic. It's just a coincidence.
Okay. Well, so I went and found, I don't know if you guys went and put your stuff on Metal Encyclopedia, but I went through and read the lyrics, so I kind of know what you're about. But for those new to your music, let's talk about, what some of your themes are that you're covering.
Okay, yeah, thanks, man. Yeah, good question. I think, I think the concept for the lyrical themes for the band is one whereby I don't really have, it doesn't have to be locked down into any particular sort of lyrical subgenre. One of the things that kind of started to annoy me, for just using this as an example over the years, is how, like, power metal, for example, just sort of almost got pigeonholed into writing and singing about dragons and riding on white horses through the night and all that sort of stuff. Just became sort of too cliched, but became sort of very associated with that genre, which is not. I kind of think it's sort of detrimental ultimately. So yeah, my kind of goal is just to be one of those bands where we can just write whatever we think, whatever sort of suits the mood of the song, whatever's kind of going on. So to that extent, from the first album, there's a lot of songs that are just about dealing with life, dealing with relationships, things like just the normal kind of
right
going on with life. But then it also gets into fantasy type and science fiction type stuff. So like there's one song that's just this one sort of crazy, really super fast, 200 BPM. It's almost like a song called Lost in Hyperspace, which is like just more sci-fi based. There's nothing like too profound in it. Whereas then what else is there? There's songs like Beowulf, which is just about that obviously that poem Beowulf, or however you pronounce it, Beowulf. There's even one song sort of inspired by Shakespeare's Hamlet. That's one another lyrical influence. And and then other than that, just a lot of it just sort of stories, reflections about life and things like that. So there's some things, songs lyrics can be taken with some ambiguity and can be up for the interpretation of the listener, whereas some of them are more just kind of straightforward. This is a song about being lost in hyperspace, and that's that.
No, it's actually good to see, going with the power metal genre. You're right, there are a lot of bands, and it's not just the dragons and the fantasy. It's gotten to the point I've seen a lot of press releases with newer bands that I haven't heard that are power metal, and everybody has to have some type of costume, and I'm just like, can you just play music, please?
yeah it seems so. I mean, what's there is one band that what's Twilight? Has it Twilight Force? They've had an amazing video. It's like I'm hoping that they're kind of going for the cheese, but with their kind of like, I quite like the band, but they're sort of dressed up as elves and things like that, walking through the forest.
but I think we can say though, in the power metal genre, the one band that's the standout that does not sing about it's Sabaton.
Yeah, that's a very, very good point. Yeah. They've certainly made a really unique mark within the power metal field by being a bit different, I suppose, and not just focusing on that sort of fantasy type stuff. So yeah, I agree.
Yeah, instead of talking more about history and everything.
Yeah, fantastic band. Yeah, very cool.
Yeah. I don't know if they've ever played there. If they come through over to Australia, I'm going to say definitely go see them. I think I've seen them 7 times at this point.
Wow. Yeah, I don't think honestly if they have, then I've missed them. But I can't remember. So if they do come our way, I'll be there for sure.
Okay. So the new album, when is that due out?
The debut album's that's already out, and then the second album we haven't set a release date. Yeah, haven't set a release date for that yet, but it's going to be towards the end of this year. We released the first album on the was it the 22nd of February 2022 because it was a cool date. Sort of it was a cool date. So we're trying to think if there's any cool dates like that towards the end of the year to put the second album out. Nothing's really springing up, so it'll just at the moment it'll just be towards the end of this year. But because it's already everything's sort of mixed and mastered, ready to go, we're just sort of finalising the artwork now. We just sort of want to keep the momentum going, and
right
in this day and age, it's sort of sometimes you feel every band's different, but it's like there's so much. It feels like the attention spans are getting shorter and shorter. That we just sort of like keep the momentum going and get more music out there, which is good for us and hopefully good for our fans and listeners.
All right. Well, that's one thing, and I've mentioned this in other interviews. But with the internet now, you can get a broader, a bigger audience than what you could have, let's say like 20, 30 years ago when there was no internet.
Oh, absolutely. It's one of those things where just the way that the technology's gone, it as a sort of a independent artist, on the one hand, there can be that sort of, I mean, this argument was sort of fought and lost years ago about downloading and all that sort of stuff, and that could be seen as a curse, in the sense that there's really not much money to be made from selling CDs or records, etc. But the absolute blessing on the flip side of that to independent artists is just that ability to get your music out in the world and as broader audience as possible, and have people enjoy your music, which is so much more rewarding. That's the only reason we're
Right.
doing this. Plus, you add on to that the advances in sort of recording technology, that you can things have made it so much easier just to record albums in a really cost effective manner. So in that respect, it's all positive, I think.
Well, and since you mentioned the whole thing with downloading, it's obviously much bigger today than it was, let's say, 25 years ago. And I often look back and I think, had a certain band not brought that into the forefront like they did, the whole Napster thing, I don't know that it would necessarily be where it's at now, because back then, I mean, okay, yeah, I may have dabbled in a little bit of downloading through Napster, but not a lot of people knew about it. And all of a sudden, it's huge headlines. Everybody's like, oh, wait, I can download music for free?
Yeah, it's a good point. I never really thought about it like that in that sense, but you're completely right. Yeah, it definitely did bring it on there. The thing that I never understood with downloading, and I guess I'm just makes me show my age or something, because I feel the same way as well with Apple Music and Spotify. Is like I still want, I want that I want that CD record in my hand. I want to go through the lyrics. I want to look at the artwork. Like I'm just I'm just actually just in my I've here I got Morning Rise. Yeah, like I just love that feeling. I remember working as a teenager. I was working like in KFC, cooking crappy chicken to save up to go to the record store Utopia in Sydney here, to buy like imported CDs, metal CDs from Japan, because they weren't even available here. And they were so much more expensive than they are even today. But it was so rewarding, that feeling of getting that new, whether it was a new Blind Guardian CD or whatever it might be, was so rewarding. You really felt like you'd worked for it, you deserved it, you just savor it, you'd read every lyric. Whereas now, it's like, you just, I'll listen to the first 30 seconds of that one. I'll move on to the next one.
Well, no, I can totally understand that, because as you could see behind me.
Yeah, I can, yeah.
Okay, that's all video.
Oh, wow.
And I've got CDs and stuff too, but no, I get it. I mean, there is definitely there's something different about actually having the product as opposed to just pulling it up on my computer and listening to it, and that's it. It's pretty much the same reason why when my daughter was younger and she wanted to play at the tablet a lot, and I could download books for her, but I told my wife, I said, absolutely not. I want her to actually have books. I don't want her to rely on the tablet. And now she's at a point, she absolutely, she always wants to get new books. So that seems to have rubbed off a little bit.
Yeah, awesome.
Okay, so what can we look for? I mean, obviously there's a new album. Anything else you guys got coming up?
Yeah, so we got a new album coming up later in this year. I suppose I can debut the title. The title of the second album is called A Fraction of Infinity, and I was very, very fortunate to have the album mixed by Kevin Shirley of Iron Maiden and Dream Theater and all those, very, very high profile, amazing mixing engineer. So that's what we're most excited about at the moment. so that later on this year. Got some more videos coming out later on in the year as well. So we got some live guitar solo playthrough ones. Third album is pretty much demoed, and I'm going to start working on recording that soon. We don't want to like lose momentum. And then looking to do some. We'd really like to do some gigs. So as everything's starting to open up more, that's one of our other priorities as well. So yeah, got a lot on the plate, but it's very enjoyable and rewarding. So we're very passionate about it. So it makes it easy.
That's good. So how'd you get hooked up with Kevin?
Well, it was kind of just one of those fortunate things. It was when he's got a studio based in Manly in Sydney, just down the road from pretty much. It was when we were plunged into the second lockdown last year. I think basically, no one could sort of go anywhere or do anything or have people come into studios. So Kevin quite graciously offered up his mixing services to independent artists, and we jumped at it. So we were very fortunate there, and he's done an amazing job, as you could expect from a master.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so for anybody looking for your music, where can they find you at?
Well, we're just on, the main thing is obviously we are on Apple Music and Spotify, so just search for Stellagen, and we're also on Bandcamp as well. Just search for Stellagen on Bandcamp or Bandcamp. I guess, what is it, bandcamp.com/Stellagen or whatever that is. Can't remember off the top of my head. Should be that. And so on the Bandcamp you can get the physical. You can get nice spattered gatefold vinyls of the album, as well as
cool.
So yeah, we definitely to circle back to what I was saying before. It was a non-negotiable. We're definitely having the physical product made up for this album, as we will for all our forthcoming ones.
Yeah, well, I do like seeing that there's a lot of bands. Vinyl's always been a thing, but it seems like for a while it was more CDs. Vinyl's making a comeback. I also see cassettes for some reason all of a sudden are the popular thing now, which I thought was a little odd, but okay.
I've seen that too. I mean, I have fond memories of having cassettes back in the day when I was a teenager. That's all I could afford. Yeah, maybe I'll change my mind and start buying cassettes too. But at the moment, I've circled back to vinyl, and we'll see what the future holds.
Yeah, sounds good. All right, well, Phil, it's been great talking with you. When the new album comes out, hopefully we'll get a chance to talk again. Hopefully you guys, when you get back to gigging, maybe you find a way to get over here to the States too.
Yeah, that'll be awesome. So I really appreciate your time, man. Look, great chatting to you. It's awesome.